Welcome to another Tears League special and cause. I'm your host Mountain, and let me get straight into it. But before we start, just to let you know, we have Miss Ashley back with us. She was gone for the last two episodes.
Hey.
Yes. So let me get straight into it. Let me get straight into Big 12. Alright, with that being said, this is your Big 12, Week 12 results.
And it was a road week. We have Plucky versus Mountain. Plucky won that one. Kimoy versus Gino. Kimoy won that game. Jew versus Chris, with Jew winning. Shamoy versus Kadim. Shamoy won that game. Vashel versus Richie. Vashel took that one. And Rain versus Iva. Rain won that one.
Alright, with that being said, this is your Week 12 GM of the Week, Mr. Plucky Ant-Man.
Man, I'm so hyped right now. Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
Anything's possible. We have a prayer from the heavens. Yes, a prayer from the heavens. That means any shit is possible. You don't know, like anything can happen. Don't give up. Fight to the end. But good job, Plucky, with your GM of the week for week 12.
And so moving on to your week 13 power rankings. We have Mountain at 1, Shamoy at 2, 3 is Kimoy, Jew is 4, Rain is 5, Vashel at 6, Plucky is 7, 8 is Gino, 9 is Chris, Richie is 10, Kadim is 11, and Iva is 12.
And on your right hand side is the Big 12 standings. We have Mountain at 1, Kimoy at 2, Shamoy at 3, Chris at 4, Rain at 5, Vashel at 6. In the West, we have Jew at 1, Gino at 2, Plucky at 3, Kadim at 4, Richie at 5, and Iva is at 6. I ain't gonna lie, Chris, Rain, Vashel, this is some big weeks for y'all. Some big weeks. And speaking of big weeks, let me get straight into this week 13 matchup. And we have our game of the week, a prime time game. Every week I'm going to do a prime time matchup games, and I'm going to have two also key matchup games where I'll just go a little more into depth about those three games. Just view it as our televised games. That's the games on TV. Now I mean everybody else they playing on the radio. You know what I mean they games in on the TV. But yeah, we have me versus Shamoy. This is a good way to start off this new segment. You know what I mean? Two heavyweight teams. I honestly feel these are the two best teams in the league. Me and him, I think our teams is very stuck.
That's not you just being biased.
One thing about me, I don't be biased at all. Tall. If I didn't have one of the best teams, I would gladly be happy to say it. But now, one thing about it, ain't no biasness over here. But yeah, this is a big matchup. Let's see how the matchup goes. Then we have our first key matchup of the week, Rain versus Vashel. Both teams is 5 and 7. They are fighting for this playoff spot. Fighting. This is an important win. You need to do everything in your power to win this week. This is important. But yeah, Rain and Vashel, one of the key matchups of the week. And moving on to another key matchup of the week, we have Plucky versus Kadim. This is a big matchup for Kadim. He have to beat Plucky. He want to make playoffs. This is an important win for him. He cannot afford to lose. And Plucky got a big win versus me. But he cannot slack off because Richie and Kadim is on his tail. Somebody between those three is not going to make the playoffs. And I don't know who he's going to be. But with that being said, these are your key matchups of the week.
Okay, and this is Richie's Big 12 parlay for week 13. We have Mountain versus Shamoy, Chris versus Kimoy, Rain versus Vashel, Kadim versus Plucky, Richie versus Gino, and Jew versus Iva. Last week results, he's 4 for 6 and 47 out of 72.
And with that being said, that's it for Big 12. We're going to move on to Tier 3. And this is your Tier 3 Week 12 results. We had Risha versus Jet. Risha took that matchup right there. We had Jimbo versus Ricky. Jimbo took that matchup right there. Then we had Ernie versus Brett. Big win for Arnie right there. Then we had Chabo versus Ish. Big win for Chabo. Then we had Tobo versus Ras. Still hot. Tobo won that matchup right there. And then the last matchup, we had Draco versus Manny. Big win for Draco. And with that being said, this is your Week 12 GM of the Week. Mr. Jimbo has returned for another GM of the Week. A man among boys.
I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better. I'm not some weak-kneed fucking crybaby.
You got a good team, you got a good record, but it's levels to this. A man among boys. Your GM of the Week, Mr. Jamori Francis.
And this is your Tier 3 Week 13 Power Rankings. We have Jimbo at 1, Turbo is 2, Ricky at 3, Risha at 4, Jet is 5, 6 is Ras, 7 is Ernie, Ish is 8, Brett is 9, Chabo at 10, Draco at 11, and Manny at 12. On the right, we have our Tier 3 standings. In the East, we have Jimbo at 1, 2 is Ish, 3 is Risha, 4 is Ras, 5 is Ernie, and 6 is Draco. In the West, we have Turbo at 1, Ricky at 2, Jet at 3, Chabo at 4, Brett is 5, and Manny is 6.
And then, like I said, this Tier 3 standings, when it comes to this East, it is tough. 2 to 6, you cannot afford to lose. You might lose, you might be 2 this week, and you might be 6 next week. It's tough. It is tough, and this is a conference week, so this is a huge week for these guys. Huge week.
Moving on to Gino's Tier 3 Parlay for Week 13. We have in the East, Risha versus Jimbo, Ras versus Ish, Ernie versus Draco. In the West, Chabo versus Jed, Brett versus Ricky, Tobo versus Manny. His last week results, he was 4 for 6 as well. He's 45 for 72.
And like I said, this is a huge week. Ras versus Ish, big matchup. But I would like to see how the hottest GM this year versus streaking lead. Risha has been pretty good for the last couple of weeks as she climbed her way back to 500. So Jimbo versus Risha, that might be a good matchup. But with that being said, let me move on to Tier 2. And this is your Tier 2 Week 12 results. We had Bash versus Grove. Grove won that matchup right there. Then we had Ras versus Javan. Ras took that matchup. Then we had Brandon versus Ian. Brandon took that matchup right there. Then we had Demoy with a prayer tanking from the gods for the postponed games. Went ahead and beat MJ right there. Then we had Lock, streakingly still hot. Another person, thank the gods. But I don't feel for him is as much as it was for Demoy. I don't know. But Black took that matchup right there versus Jordan. And then we had Rich versus JP. JP won that matchup right there.
Moving on to your Tier 2 Week 13 Power Rankings. We have Brandon at 1, MJ at 2, Ras at 3, Luck at 4, Jordan at 5, Grove at 6, 7 is Bash, 8 is Rashawn, Javon at 9, JP at 10, Demoy at 11, and 12 is Ian. On your right hand side, we have the Tier 2 standings. In the East, we have Jordan at 1, Rish at 2, Bash at 3, Javon at 4, Demoy at 5, and Ian at 6. In the West, we have Brandon at 1, MJ at 2, Ras at 3, Grove at 4, JP at 5, and 6 is Lock.
And it's crazy because as good as Lock playing here on a 5-game winning streak, he still can't get past the 6th seed because, like I said, this West Conference is all 8 teams better than every team in the East, in my opinion. Damn near. Not all the way. Jordan team pretty tough, but the majority, yeah, this West Conference is tough.
Okay, now we have Chris's Tier 2 parlay. For week 13 in the East, we have Bash versus Javon, Rashawn versus Jordan, Ian versus Demoy. In the West, we have Grove versus JP, Ras versus Locke, Brandon versus MJ. Chris last week results, he was 5 for 6. He's now 49 out of 72.
And this is your Tiers League parlay results. Right now, Chris is ahead of everybody, 49 and 72. Richie is 47 and 72. And Gino is 45 and 72 right now. And this is your Tiers parlay results. And with that being said, this is your Tier 1 Week 12 results. We had Pure versus Chad. Big matchup right there. Pure took that matchup. Then we had Lock versus Rhino. Lock took that matchup right there. Then we had Slick versus Joseph. Slick took that matchup right there. Then we had Winston versus Dylan. Winston took that matchup. And then we had Marcel versus Sharif. Marcel took that matchup. And then we had Kerry versus Gillo. Kerry took that matchup right there. And as you know, Ashley do not like to do Tier 1 power ranking. So I
don't like to do Tier 1.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
So we have Tier 1 Week 13 power rankings. We have 1 is Lock, Pure at 2, Chad is 3, Marcel at 4, Slick is 5, Winston at 6, Joseph is 7, 8 is Dylan, 9 is Kerry, 10 is Rhino, 11 is Jillo, and 12 is Sharif.
Good job. With that being said, that is it for your Tiers League power rankings and results. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode. It was straight to the point, and yeah, see y'all next week.